is Lexi Johnson. I was born in Tokyo, Japan on June 25th of 1992 to two parents who had been living in Tokyo for a year. After that, we moved back to America for 5 years. And when I was 6 years old, we moved back to Tokyo again, where we stayed for 11 years. So I grew up in Tokyo from age 6 through 17 and age 0 to 1. And my youngest sister is Japanese. We adopted her into the family in 2002. I think my most memorable experience in Japan was riding the subway every day to school and to go shopping and to get groceries, and just how quiet the subway was. Everywhere in America there's like noise and the streets are noisy. You can hear people's headphones, or they're talking on their phone, or they're eating. And on the trains in Tokyo, it's just so quiet. Lots of people aren't even listening to anything. They're just quietly like reading or doing nothing. And my biggest kind of fondest memory is the like gentleness and the quietness on the train. Being a minority in Japan is kind of a funny thing because you're never really quite a minority. Like, let's see. So I was one of a few American families in Tokyo, but I went to an international school, which were all the ambassadors' children. So in our little tiny school, we represented over 53 countries. So it was kind of just like a school of minorities, and we would hang out like the Omanian ambassador's daughter, or like this Thai daughter of a soccer player, kind of a thing. We'd all hang out kind of in the expat group and became like a group of minority. And it was interesting because you never felt unwelcome anywhere or like you didn't belong someplace, but you also at the same time never ever felt fully like you were supposed to be there. Everyone would welcome you into their stores and restaurants and homes and parks, but there was just this slight feeling of like, but it's not really for me.
So can you speak Japanese full on?
I used to speak enough Japanese to take the equivalent of the AP English test, and then it's just like it's departing from my brain so quickly.
Yeah.
Just like as years go by. It's risky always to say that a group of people is like something, or that a culture shares traits or qualities. But if I were to talk about the people in Japan, I would talk a lot about caring about everything that they do, living very consciously. Sanitation workers, garbage men wear white gloves to work, kind of a thing. Everything everybody does, they're just doing their absolute best. And it really shows. It shows in like how clean the sidewalks are. It shows in like how carefully maintained the parks are, how organized everything has a system. It just shows like a lot of care and consciousness is put into every detail. I love most about Japanese culture the sense that everything has a purpose. Every like plastic bucket that you get from the dollar store you have for a long time and you reuse in multiple ways. And they live like there's a minimalist kind of feel to things, but everything is very purposeful. And you have a lot of like decluttering and throwing things out, but you also will have like very, very old things that are as important. So in between two like shiny brand new buildings, there will be like an old bathhouse that's like hundreds of years old that just stands in between, totally protected and safe. When I think of Japan, think about America, it just seems like a lot of work has to be done for it to be even like laudable or something to be proud of. And when I think about Japan and how so many things are so well handled and squared away and carefully taken care of, I just feel hopeful like maybe one day we can be a little bit more like Japan. They're not perfect, but they're doing everything so much better.
Would you say that Japan is a part of you?
I would want to say that Japan is a part of me. I feel a connection because I was born there. It just barely passed the mark where up until last year, I had spent half of my life in Japan and half of my life in America. And then just last year, it became 1 year extra of living in America. So now I've lived in America just slightly longer than I've lived in Japan. And I want to call it a part of me, but I feel like I don't have a right to that. It's like not my country. I'm not Japanese. I don't have citizenship over there. But I think about it every day, and I want to go back all the time. I think about the language all the time, and just find ways to reconnect without claiming to be Japanese or claiming any stake in Japan at all. I did not know about Japantown in Salt Lake City until a few years ago when they were having a festival. And then it was just like a blessed discovery to find like any way to think about or talk about Japan while in America. Like anytime a community loses their place to exist, it's a pretty big loss. And any time that there's an opportunity for any kind of diversity to exist in Salt Lake City, it kind of seems like it can get extinguished if people aren't careful to protect spaces. And I wonder if it's like too late for Japantown, and I wonder how this could have been prevented. So there's this show on YouTube called Begin Japanology, where this very, very sweet man, Peter Barakin, goes around and talks about weird things in Japan, like scissors and regional fast food and like special kinds of dances and papers and gift giving and Japanese culture, and I'll watch that all the time. The library has a lot of resources. They have children's books and adults books in Japanese, and they have like learn Japanese CDs and programs, and I use those a lot. And then mostly movies. I'll watch a lot of like Japanese movies, and by Japanese directors in Japanese.
Nice.
Yeah. When I think of Japan, I think of class, like classiness. I think of style. Everything is done very stylistically. A lot of decisions are made aesthetically versus friendship. And I think about tradition and like old ways that are incorporated in new ways. Oh, yeah, we need to make space for diversity if we want to succeed. The idea of a melting pot is a mistaken idea because we don't want to melt into each other and assimilate and squash people's differences. We need to make spaces for these little like microcosm bubbles of diversity and culture where people can find each other and be familiar. And like by protecting these spaces and building them into the community is the only way for this country to get better at all.
Would you say that your exposure to a new culture has impacted the way that you were brought up and the way you think about the world? And elaborate a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have relatives who are my the same age who, like, born the same year, who were just brought up here in Utah. And my family happened to move to Japan. And I think it was living in Japan where there just was never a moment of like, well, that's weird, like, because there wasn't really a normal. Like, my best friend would bring pig snout in her lunchbox for school, and then on my other side, my other friend would bring Vegemite, and there was never a moment of othering. There never really seemed to be a moment of like, that's weird, or your family looks different than mine in any way, just because of the school I went to and the city I was in. It was too international to leave room for like one-mindedness. And I think had I not grown up in Japan, I would be an entirely different person.
How would
As a country, we're not really maintaining our status of like a world leader. People will say all the time America's number one, and I don't really think we're number one at anything. I hear a lot about flattening out cultures, about like referring to Chilean kids and Bolivian kids like as Hispanic or Latino children, like despite all of the places that they come from. And I just feel like America right now might be trying to flat iron some people into some spaces that they don't have to fit into. Because power is in the wrong hands still. Power is in the hands historically of like wealthy white men. Somehow it's still getting past there, and the things that need to be protected, the small things, just keep getting steamrolled and like flattened out of the way, and we're not making. If we're making progress, it's not enough, and it's not fast enough.
if we still had these communities in Salt Lake City and downtown, like Japantown, Greektown, Little Italy, obviously they all formed because people were finding a refuge to kind of come together when they were living an already very difficult life. But if we still had those communities and places, how would your experience in Salt Lake be different?
I would want to live here so much more. I already feel like we're losing things, and things are slipping away in the name of huge condos and concert halls and sports stuff. And if we still had communities like that, it would make living here so much more enjoyable. And when I think about moving to other cities, I look at cities with areas like that, with diversity like that, and the way Salt Lake City has been increasingly homogenized is like not ideal for a place to live. So it depends on which population census you look at. A majority of the studies show that Salt Lake City is growing in their minorities, specifically in the Latino Hispanic population, the combined groups that make that up. It's been said that by 2020 we're going to be a minority-majority city, where the minorities will be like kind of equal in population, and hopefully I think that'll make Salt Lake City a better place. Yeah. The best way to do that is with kind of public art and markings. If we can design streets so they don't all look the same, if we can like add art to the streets, if we can like the benches on this street look like this because this street kind of symbolizes this. If we can kind of unhomogenize the like symbols and the way things are built everywhere, I think that would be a good starting step.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.